guys a few things. Yes, a few things that we think will definitely help you with your overall proficiency in the race. So another thing with grip strength would be, so we practice the hip slaps or the reverse grip on the bar. So another thing would be to hold the bar and then learn how to, like shimmy or move across. So this is just going to help with building that grip strength as well as staying engaged with your scapular.
I noticed how he was nice and calm when he was doing it. So really allow yourself to breathe through the motion, okay? And then just like he said, like even hanging on a bar. If it's super challenging, like, hey, we all get older and who knew it was so hard to hang on a freaking bar, right? And so what you can do is you can put a box underneath your foot to help alleviate some of the weight. And this way when your grip starts to get challenged, or if you're just starting, you're gonna hang on the bar, try and bear as much body weight as possible, and then utilize this foot to help alleviate some of it if it's too challenging. Once your grip starts to die this way, then you can do what we call a switch grip. So one hand forward, one hand backwards. And then that's gonna provide a different type of strength. So that will give you, or allow you to be able to build up the strength to hang normally and or hang without the box. But the box can be your friend. Utilize it.
So another thing, leading up to the race, so many people get super excited about building the strength and tackling the different obstacles. But one of the things that's going to really help you guys is doing the thing that everybody hates, which is burpees. The more burpees you do before the race, the less burpees you'll actually do on the race. Because if you spend so much time like, hey look, I'm gonna practice my rope climb, and you don't necessarily nail the technique, or you're a little bit fatigued when you reach that point in the race and you haven't practiced your burpees, then the burpees are gonna take more out of you than if you would have actually just done the rope. So like practicing, getting proficient with your burpees, doing sets of 30 in your training, mixing them in, whatever, it's going to help to make sure that you have a nice good pace during the race. And then also when you're doing them in your training, make sure you do strict burpees. Like if you're on the race and you want to do like what people call race burpees, where you're not doing like crazy push-ups and super explosive jumps, because technically in the race the only qualification is chest to the ground, hands above your head. So like for a race, they just come down, they touch, and then like hands above your head, little jump, that's all you really need. But like
super easy.
But when you're training, you want to be as strict as possible, so you'll come down like full push up and explode up, because the more you put out when you're training, the easier it'll be during the race. So like when you're training, be as strict as possible, that way you're not going to be burnt out on the race.
A race burpee, which you can do, is what I like to call almost like a hand release push-up. And so
that's what I did.
You did not do a hand release push-up. All right. So with the hand release push-up, you're going to bring your legs down. If you're super exhausted, of course, you can always step your feet out. But the goal is obviously to kick your feet out. You're going to lower yourself down to the ground, drop your chest on the ground, release those hands, keep that core nice engaged as you push yourself back up. Jump those legs in and jump up. This is not a burpee.
Sprawl.
The sprawl, guys. That's not a burpee. Just saying.
But yeah, doing those in your training is definitely going to help in the race. That way, like, if you're in a position where you weren't able to conquer an obstacle, you're not completely fatigued or taken off by having to do a couple burpees. So make sure you practice those in your training, and like actually doing more of those is going to build the strength that you need to conquer some of the obstacles. So training your burpees will help actually with the obstacles, whereas just doing the obstacles leading up to the race is not necessarily going to serve you as well as just doing a bunch of burpees.
And find that burpee pace. So really like get in a good rhythm. Don't just do it as fast as you can. And so when you're doing your training, if you can figure out like how many burpees it takes you to do in a certain amount of minutes, then you can see like how much you're progressing. So really like measure and track your progress with any of the training that you are doing. How long can you hang on a bar? Can you hang on a bar for 5 seconds? If that's what you can do, great, that's what you can do. But then from there, time it again and see, hey, am I progressing? And then see, hey, look, I hung on a bar for a minute. So make sure that you measure everything that you're doing so that you know how to continue moving forward.
And that'll let you know your training's paying off. Because if you're just training and you're not testing yourself, then you won't necessarily know if your training is beneficial. So do it, test, and you'll say, hey, look, I'm getting stronger, I'm doing it, and then you can keep going. If not, course correct.